right, and it is 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and kick this off. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Texas Workforce Commission's Press Officer, Angela Wellner. Thanks for joining us for the June labor release media briefing. We're glad that you're all here to discuss the most recent employment data for the state of Texas. We have Commissioner Aaron Demerson available to answer your questions today about this most recent report. Now, today's briefing is specific to the Texas labor market data release. If we can't answer your question in this briefing, you can go ahead and send us an email at press@twc.texas.gov, and we'll work to get that request answered. Now, this briefing runs from 1 to 1:30. After we receive opening remarks from Commissioner Demerson, we'll take your questions. To ask a question, please raise your virtual hand in the chat. I'll then make you a panelist. It will briefly disconnect you and reconnect you so that you can go ahead and turn on your camera and ask the question. You also, if you prefer, can ask your question in chat, and I will go ahead and ask that question. Please be aware that we are recording this, so we'll make that available shortly after the conclusion of the event. Again, thank you all for attending. Now let's hear the latest jobs data from Commissioner Demerson.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you guys for joining us as well, for being here. We're excited here in the great state of Texas, but just like the record-breaking temperatures that we're experiencing right now, we're experiencing record-breaking records here in our great state of Texas. The economy is sizzling, it's booming, and we're excited about that, not resting on our laurels at all. 15 million civilian jobs, a record again. We're proud of that fact. Over 14.4 Texans working that are out there working, and 13.9, nearly 14 million jobs that have been posted out there as well. And I could go on and on with what we're doing here in this great state, but one that we're extremely proud of is the employment growth as well. 542,000 jobs that we've gone since June of 2022. And once again, Texas breaking records in record ways. And you know, folks will call that bragging. A lot of times say that's they're bragging about what's happening in Texas once again, but we often say in Texas, it ain't bragging if it's true. Fact of the matter is that we have the facts to back that up. And with us today, we have Mariana Vega, our Texas Workforce Commission labor market economist, who's going to validate everything that I've said in regards to these numbers. But a red hot, sizzling economy here in Texas. And actually, that's going to match the jacket that Mariana has on as well. So I want to turn this back over to Mariana. Mariana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to go over a few highlights today from our labor release this morning. So we did release June 2023 data, and we'll go ahead and start with our unemployment rate. So it did remain unchanged over the month at 4.1%. The U.S. unemployment rate did decrease 1/10 of a percentage point and is now 3.6%. So that does put us 0.5 percentage point above the U.S. The Texas seasonally adjusted labor force surpassed 15 million for the first time in May, so last month. And we do continue to grow. We added 30,500 people to the workforce in June, which gives us the largest labor force in the series history at 15,039,800. The number of unemployed decreased over the month by 6,400, and the number of employed increased by a lot more, 36,900. So we'll go ahead and move on to the labor force participation rate. That did remain unchanged for both Texas and the U.S. Texas stands at 64.2, the U.S. at 62.6. So we are 1.6 percentage points higher than the U.S. The labor force participation for Texas has been higher since May of 2009. So that's 170 months in a row that we've been higher than the U.S. And to be honest, if we look back at the series history, which goes back to 1976, we've been higher for the most part than the U.S. Over the year, the labor force participation rate was up 0.2 of a percentage point. So great news. So moving on to the next slide, we're looking at civilian labor force for the metropolitan statistical areas for Texas. And here we also continue to see labor force growth throughout the metro areas in Texas. We are looking at not seasonally adjusted data. And so this particular map features over the year civilian labor force growth. To your right are the fastest growing MSAs, Midland at 5.9%, Odessa at 4.4%, College Station Bryan at 3.8%, and then Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, 3.7%, and then Austin, Round Rock at 3.4%. If you look on the map, we do have one MSA that's experiencing a decline in the labor force over the year, and that is Texarkana. I do want to point out, though, that it's a change of 100 people. So it could be a rounding issue. It's not anything that we're concerned of right now. But just to look a little bit deeper into what's happening in Texarkana, we did see that their civilian labor force increased by 600, and the actual number of employed people increased by 400. So a lot of positive signs there still. And so moving on to the jobs report. So this comes from our current employment statistics program. We did add 31,100 jobs in June to once again hit a series high of 13,944,600 jobs. So we have seen 21 consecutive months of record high growth. So we're very proud of that. We do outpace the nation in terms of over the month and over the year growth. Additionally, we did rank #1 among the 50 states in terms of jobs added over the year, as well as annual growth rate. So we added 542,500 jobs over the year for an annual growth rate of 4%. The private sector grew at an even faster rate at 4.3%. And for the 22nd consecutive month, we did see every major private industry achieve positive annual growth. So moving on to the next slide, here we see what is actually driving the growth. So we did see a big increase in private education and health services. That major industry added 11,900 jobs. Most of that was concentrated in healthcare and social assistance, which added 11,500 jobs. Construction followed, adding 11,000 jobs. Manufacturing, 6,100 jobs. We saw growth in durable and non-durable good manufacturing. Financial activities added 5,300 jobs, mostly due to finance and insurance and real estate, rental and leasing increases or employment increases. We did see some job losses this month. Leisure and hospitality lost 10,800 jobs. We saw losses in arts, entertainment, and recreation. That particular industry lost 6,000, and accommodation and food services lost 4,800 jobs. Professional and business services lost 3,100 jobs. That was mostly due to employment services losing some employment in that particular industry. The next chart that we have for you shows over the year employment growth for our Texas metro areas. Now, I just want to explain a few things before I go any further. Those MSAs that have the yellow bars, those are particular metro areas that have not recovered to pre-pandemic levels. Beaumont Port Arthur is still shy 3,300 jobs from recovery. Odessa 300 jobs, and Texarkana 800 jobs. Wichita Falls is shown in red, and that was just to indicate that while that particular metro area recovered back in February of 2023, due to the job loss that it experienced in June, it has fallen below pre-COVID levels. It is 200 jobs shy of the pre-COVID employment. So, but if you look at this chart, it really shows how well we're doing in Texas and in the metro areas. You can see that all of the areas are expanding over the year. Midland metro area leads at 8.9% annual growth rate. And the next slide, we'll see average hourly earnings, and this is for the private sector. Those did increase $1.47 for an annual growth rate of 5%, coming to a total of $31.06 in June. There are 5 industries that are expanding at a higher rate than total private as a whole as far as wages. Manufacturing does have the highest annual growth rate among the industries. It's up 13%, bringing the salary level to $35.29 in June. Construction followed, expanding at 9.75%, coming to a level of $32.20. Financial activities is up 9.5% for an average hourly earning of $44.10. Other services gained 6.9% over the year, reaching $25.76. And leisure and hospitality average hourly earnings are up 6% over the year, standing at $17.98 in June. So next slide, initial claims and continued claims, which we do like to follow. So we are looking at 4-week rolling averages for these. Both are up over the month. Initial claims are up by 7,270. Continued claims are up by 11,666 claims. They are also up over the year. Initial claims up 8,380 and continued claims up by 40,000. So we are seeing a slight increase. However, overall, those claims really only account for about 1% of the insured workforce. And it's pretty, it's still low and within normal levels. And so this last slide is just a summary of some of the key points that I went over. We talked about the civilian labor force surpassing 15 million in May and continuing to grow. Our unemployment rate, it was unchanged, but it's still very low. And just as a reminder, 4% is considered full employment. We've had 21 consecutive months of over the month growth as well. So we like to see that. And we are adding more jobs than any other state in terms of absolute number change over the year, as well as annual growth rate. And so those are my remarks or the information that I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, I think we'll be more than glad to answer those.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks so much, Mariana, for that great review of our labor market. Really appreciate it. This is the part now where we open it up to questions. So if any of our attending media would like to raise their virtual hand, and again, I will then allow you to be a panelist, in which case you can then turn on your mic and your camera and ask that question. So we'll go ahead and leave that just a moment to give folks a minute to maybe think about what questions they have in mind. And if Mariana and Commissioner have anything they'd like to discuss in a moment while we are waiting for them to think of any questions, well, let's talk again about what we just saw in our June market.
And so I like to say that in addition to the information that Mariana has presented, again, we're proud of what we're doing here in Texas, but 28 consecutive months of job growth, that $542,000 number that we threw out from June of last year makes us #1 in the nation in that regard. And for those economists out there, that's #1 in both absolute and percentage increases. And so we're excited about that as well. But we're continuing to do some amazing things and are proud of what the Texas employers are doing.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Commissioner. And I do have a hand raised from Guillermo Rios. And Guillermo, if you could go ahead and you can unmute yourself, turn on your camera, and if you don't mind letting us know what station you're from and what your question is.
Hi, I guess my camera isn't on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay. And so sorry, it's not actually Guillermo. So he had to be assigned for a different thing. I'm with CBS 7 in Odessa. And I was wondering if I could see that slide again and get another information where it had like Odessa had the yellow bar and there was 300 jobs behind pre-pandemic levels. Could you tell me how far ahead Midland is of pre-pandemic levels?
I can. Just give me one sec and
Okay.
I can pull that up because I don't have that readily available like off the top of my head, but I certainly have that information with me.
It's right there. That's the bar right there.
Oh yeah. So they are considered 105.4% recovered, and I hope I got your question correct. But you said how recovered are they from the pre-pandemic or compared to February 2020 pre-pandemic employment? And so they're 6,200 over their pre-pandemic employment.
6,200.
So his question leads to also the yellow bar in terms of Odessa.
Right. Odessa is still not recovered. Odessa is 99.6% recovered. So it's only 300 jobs shy of meeting that pre-COVID employment. They've recovered pretty significantly, mainly due obviously to oil and gas and the rebound there, increase in prices. So that helped that particular area or those particular areas because of the concentration of that particular industry.
So Odessa is 99.6% recovered.
Yes.
Okay, not bad.
And then Midland, you said, is 6,200 over?
Yes, 6,200
Okay.
over.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Appreciate the question. Thank you. And I don't see any other hands. Do I have any other questions before we go ahead and close our media conference?
So Angela, if you don't have any other questions there, I'd like to add comments along the lines of something that we're doing in the internship space, and that's our Texas Interns Unite initiative. We're going to actually have an event on next Thursday, July 27th, I believe, 2003. And that the slides up about that. We'll be bringing in Texas employers and hear from a keynote speaker. But our goal here is really to make sure that we're advocating and promoting the internship opportunities with our Texas employers here in state, doing that in relations with Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board through their Texas Works program, and a number of different supporters there, Texas Economic Development Council, the Governor's Office, our Texas Association of Business organization as well. And so we're excited to partner with them with this event, and excited that we have an intern with us even in the studio today. And so July 27th, 2023 at the Thompson Center on the UT campus, we'll be hosting that event. Texas Interns Unite, go to that LinkedIn page, but it's going to be in collaboration with National Internship Day.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Commissioner. And having no more questions, we are going to go ahead and close the labor release media briefing. Again, thanks to all of you for being here. Our next release is going to be Friday, August 18th. Again, we'll leave with closing words from Commissioner Demerson.
Well, once again, it sounds like I'm talking. We should probably have Mariana doing closing words, but we continue to be excited about this hot blazing economy, the records that we're setting here in Texas. We don't take that for granted. And as Commissioner representing employers, I continue to appreciate everything that the employers are doing here in our state. But we serve with two other commissioners, Commissioner Alberto Trevino, who represents labor, and our chairman, Brian Daniel, who represents the public. We continue to do what we can to make a difference here in our state, and delighted that you're able to join us here today. And if there's anything that we can do here at the Workforce Commission, we stand ready to do that, working in collaboration with our Executive Director, Ed Cerna. But Angela, thank you guys for the opportunity, and let's go out there and make a difference as we proceed forward.